Welcome back, everyone. Good evening, good afternoon, good morning. Once again, I am Dr. Jerry Johnson, the creator of Common Sense Co-Parenting. My mission is to empower parents to navigate the complexities of co-parenting with clarity, with compassion, and collaboration that will ensure a nurturing environment for the child or children above all else. So today we are back with part two with my daughter. And if you did not join us last time, we were talking about your co parenting relationship, not from your view, not from what you think it is, but what our kids think it is and how they were feeling about your co parenting relationship. And I'm encouraging you to talk to your children, especially as they're growing up. Now, my daughter, as you can see, is older. She is an adult child, but I'm going to say it again. We all mess up our kids in some way. We mess it up with our kids. So we need to make sure that we, as the adults, are getting feedback along the way, and we need to be able to handle that. So if you did not look at the last episode, please do, because we are continuing the conversation from the end of the last episode on this one. So make sure you go back, like, subscribe if you like anything in there. And then also leave a question or a comment if you would like. We would love to hear your feedback. So as you want to introduce yourself again, you don't have to do the whole thing like last time. But for the people who are new to the channel, they might want to know who you are.
So not whole spiel or like whole
just
whole
do
spiel.
just do what you want to do. You don't have to
Okay,
do the
well,
whole thing.
do the whole spiel. Hi. Um, I am Ashlyn Wiley. I recently graduated from the University of Houston in spring 2024. I graduated with my Bachelor's of Science in Kinesiology, Fitness, and Sports with a minor in nutrition. I also crossed the Zeta Sigma chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated in fall of 2022. I am currently a kindergarten teacher with KIPP, Texas, but I plan on next summer 2026, going to get my master's in athletic training. But most importantly, why I'm here, I am Dr. Johnson's daughter.
So, thank you for joining me for the second episode. I'm going to recap the first episode with you. Since you are my first guest, this is kind of like a practice run for me. So, basically, co parents, we talked about what characteristics from the common sense co parenting framework resonated more with Ashlyn. Ashlyn talked about collaboration and consistency, resonating with her more in some of the themes as to why. And then she also talked about how the co parenting relationship began from what she knows and how it's going. Um, and we ended the last episode with her growth process throughout the co parenting relationship. And what I wanted to start this episode with was how she felt her growth process throughout the co-parenting relationship, how she felt um, when things kind of, I guess, changed, and she had to go from house to house and things like that. But then she started just being at one house in during senior year, and how she had to switch her brain off and on. And I've talked to you guys about the fact that she said this, that she lived in two separate, like she lived in two totally different households, right? So, in education, we talk about the term code switching, whereas, basically it's like whatever environment you're in, there's a certain code as to how we act, as to how we speak, as to how we, navigate those situations around people that we don't know and people that we do know. So, Ashlyn talked about just having to, it's like a light switch. It was like a light switch for her change maybe the person that she was or the way she was thinking or the way she was navigating the environment. And I wanted her to kind of go into that a little bit more if she could, as to how she kind of dealt with that, maybe how it made her feel, maybe mentally. Did it take a toll emotionally? How did, how, what can you, what more can you tell us about that?
Um, yeah, I, like, where do I start? I don't know.
Yeah, here,
Um,
start with the fact of how you felt each household was a little bit different from the other.
okay. Um, so one is like it didn't seem like I could talk about a lot, like open up about a lot of stuff in one household compared to the other. I didn't know what the reaction was going to be. And one household I feel like was a more, you know, make sure your grades are good, how you're doing in sports, like how you're performing. The other one was a little bit more, how are you feeling? What's going on with your friends and things like that. The I guess love language in each household was also different. I guess you can already kind of tell.
Mhm.
But in one household, it was more a acts of service monetary, and then the other one was more quality time, words of affirmation. Um, household. So you can tell those are two totally different ways of doing like showing love. So switching between that, you can already kind of tell that would be different. Um yeah, I feel like that's like one of the biggest things. I feel like once I started getting older, like realizing that because also that affected kind of, I guess, my love languages and like I realized what actually works for me. Um, and I guess like the main event that sticks in my head of like me realizing that is I have a fear of needles. I know it's still crazy because if you see me, I have tattoos, I have piercings, I'm like my mother. But I'm afraid of needles. It has gotten better as I've gotten older, but I used to be like full blown fit.
Deathly afraid.
My
Yes.
whole day, week was ruined thinking about me going to go get my flu shot at the doctor's office. Like it was like it was bad. Um, and one time in elementary school, my dad had to take me to go get my flu shot. My mother could not. My mother had always been taking me to my doctor's appointments. My dad had not really. So um, I, was freaking out in the doctor's office. The nurses kind of knew how to deal with me. I kind of had the same nurses giving me shots all the time, so they kind of they knew the drill with me. Um, but my dad was like, okay, like if you can just be quiet, get through it, like we can go. He was like, we can go to Build-A-Bear, I'll get you ice cream or something after. And that doesn't work for me in that moment because I literally am like wanting to basically kick a nurse. Like I do not like I don't want to be here. Like to me, at that age, I was dying. Like that's the closest that was like the closest to death I could feel for me. Um so thinking about going to go get a Build-A-Bear, it's not on my brain. But my mother would be like, I can play some music, I'll hold your hand. Like that's what I needed. I needed like some affirming, like you'll be good, like it'll be over quick, like I needed emotional support, not like, a reward. Not it was not I'm not always a reward person, so I needed sometimes I'm like I need in the moment affirmation that I'm not gonna die. This shot is gonna help me. So I just yeah. So that's kind of like the key event that still sticks with me to this day of kind of where I realized what works on me differently. Um, so yeah, and then even like coming down to like I guess the things that I watched, I was able to watch and like conversations that would happen around those things. Um, like I would watch Friends with You, Mom, Grey's Anatomy as I got older, Sex and the
Hmm.
City, friends, like different things like that. So then also those shows bring up different conversations, life lessons, whatever. At my dad's, couldn't that was not finna happen. I was watching Bob and other things like that, Disney Channel shows, everything up until I was gone. Like I'm just being so for real. Like I couldn't even think about turning on Friends. Like it wasn't even a thought in my mind to turn it on while I was over there. And then like even when I would watch like action movies with like him and Stacy, they cuss. He'd be like, "Oh my gosh, your private school education is gone." And I'm like, "Oh boy, you have no idea." But he would just make these comments like your private school education is gone. Oh, babe, cover your ears, like all this stuff. And I'm like, I got these white kids at my school passing vapes in biology class, and you worried about Robert Downey Jr. saying the F word? Like, what? Like, I'm like, okay. Like, I don't know what you think is happening in private school, but it's just really white kids doing the same thing that's probably happening in public school. Like, I don't really know what to say. Um, so yeah, like, like, yeah. So,
How do you
senior stuff.
feel the balance? And did you feel like it was a balance or did you feel like it was an imbalance going through it? Like, how did you feel about the balance of between the two households?
Um, I mean, it's like, yes, it was a balance, but it was like, how do I explain it? It was a balance, but when my life was imbalanced,
Hmm.
being in a certain household didn't like help.
Okay.
If that makes sense. Um, but it was a balance. I mean, both households, like it taught me different things, showed me different things. Also, with my dad's household, like he was remarried, like I, had, dealing with a stepmother relationship, a stepsister relationship, even though they got remarried when I was pretty young, so I really don't even remember much time of not having them in my life. Um, but still it's something to still have to navigate. And like even Shania and I, my stepsister, we lived in the same room
Hmm.
most of the time of her being in the house. Um, so that, and then going back to being in a room by myself, and just different things. Um, but just with talking about you and my dad, yeah, it was overall like a balance. I think I had to grow up and like having space, especially going to college. I started, being able to appreciate the balance.
Hmm.
But there was definitely a point in time where I didn't, appreciate the differences. Um, but also I think again with having space and then also new things to like connect like my dad and I to actually be able to talk about, you know, you start to like give a little bit of grace, and that, and I think that'll also go towards like my like learning romantic relationships. Like not how you love or need to be loved is not how other people do it. So you can't always expect that from that person, even though that's might be what you need. That does not mean that they like love you or care about you any less. That's just not at their capacity to do.
Right.
Um, so I think I had to at some point along the way like grapple my mind with that, um and learn that, but then also I think like with age I just think also I realized like my dad he was in a house full of girls and I'm his only like child,
Hmm.
and I bet just like teenage years weren't easy for me, they weren't easy for him, and he doesn't know what with a girl, growing boobs and having a period now, and all these things. And even though I know I'm mentioning a friend because of the age I am, he's freaking out like, is this just a friend?
Right.
So like, so then that was the other thing. Like I could talk to you about Jordan, Daniel, Mystic, whoever. Like I could talk about any of my friends. I couldn't do that with my dad because like even I remember I need to go to like Daniel's birthday party. He was like, "Who's Daniel?" It's like if you if you saw a picture of Daniel, you would not be confused no more. But I'm like it is what it is. Um, but yeah, so I was like, because it wasn't until my freshman year of college, because that semester that I was there by myself, and I was always with Jordan, Mystic, and Gerald.
Mhm.
Um, that yeah, Jordan had came by because we were gonna go like I think we were going to IKEA or something. But like yeah, Dad brought Jordan in the house, like had a full-blown conversation. He was telling Jordan to come over anytime, barbecue. I was like, but I guess I don't know if it had been like Jordan had been around enough at that point or what, but I was like, this is new. Um, but yeah, so I don't know if it came with like me finally growing up or, the space with college, but um it's different when I go back home now. Like it's I feel like it's better than how I felt when I was
Mhm.
younger. Um so I can't even fully pinpoint the change, so I don't know like what's like the piece of advice. Um But yeah, I think it just came with me growing up. Then when I became Greek, like he's a Sigma, so we both had like more to talk about. I started working with the football team,
Yeah.
sports, we had to talk about just like different things. And then I think also with like the space of me being in a different city, appreciating having, certain moments to talk. And then I know you also had a conversation with him because I feel like I was gonna lose it. But just with keep asking me about my grades. Because my scholar people don't, but my scholarship was based, I had an academic scholarship, so it was based on my grades. So and I was blessed to have my parents help me with my tuition that was remaining. But to keep asking about my grades when I know that that's what's like keeping me in college was really I was having literal breakdowns. So I also think after you had that conversation with him, like Ashland's getting like stressed out. Like that also helped have more like emotional based conversations more than like progress work
Yes.
based conversations.
Yeah.
Some conversations came like late, like advice of working with the football team. I'd already worked with them for a full season. I've already been around the guys for a whole year.
Yeah.
I don't like the advice came like this is a little late. So I think with space and with time and just like me growing up in different growth, like and that even had to happen with other family members, but just realizing like the place that other people are in, and then also doesn't specifically have to do with my dad, but I guess it's just a general advice. Depending on also a person's age, where they are in life, sometimes, unfortunately, we do have to think, are they actually going to change at this point? Like, are there some fundamental core things that are they actually going to change? So then you just have to realize and decide how you want to navigate around that. So you can either lessen communication, change how you communicate, whatever it is. But with some family members, anybody, you might just have to realize are those values and things in a person that are they really going to change at this point? Um, so yeah, but also just giving my dad some grace, you some grace in different situations. Like that y'all are our parents, so I feel like obviously y'all are on a pedestal for us, but y'all are human too, just like I'm human.
Mhm.
So and I was both of y'all's first and only child, so y'all learning how to do this do this
Right.
thing too.
Exactly.
Um,
Exactly.
so so
And
yeah,
that's,
but
I
it
mean, that makes sense. That makes sense.
But yeah, but yeah, so it was a switch from household to household. I think in the long run, now that I can like look back on it, I can have like some appreciation for both of it. Um, I'm not gonna say that it wasn't hard or, it didn't have effects on me because it did. Um, but we're good.
So I think it's very important to go back to the statement that you said, and I want my parents to understand this. this is for any parent, it's not just for co-parents, but when our children's lives are imbalanced, we talked about this. If we don't create, um, how can I say it? If we don't create the steady foundation that I talked about in my last two episodes, that stability for them, then they're not going to be able to navigate the imbalance in their personal lives, what's going on with them, friends, school, all that type of stuff. Um, if we don't create some stability in their home. Okay. So it was still difficult for my daughter, as she said, when her life was imbalanced. She still had balance in these two, between the two households, but it's still a difficult time for them. Imagine if they don't have that stability and that consistency at home either. Their whole world is out of whack, like from school, friendships, all of that, all the way into family. Think about what that does to them mentally and emotionally if we don't create some type of stability and consistency for them within our relationship with the other parent. Okay. That helps them to be able to navigate the imbalance that they may have anywhere else. It's very important. And even in the best of situations, life is going to life,
Mhm.
okay, for everybody. And if we can't find something to hold on to, something stable, something anchored, it's very easy for everything to just go haywire and your whole world is going to be jacked up. All right. And that's not a good situation for our kids who are learning and we're trying to help them navigate this stuff. So, thank you, Ashley. You even got into what I was going to ask you about, which was giving people some tips, um, or giving kids and or co-parents some tips as to how they can, better relationship, better their co-parenting relationship, and or the kids being able to navigate things. But would you like to add anything else to that, as far as mentally, like emotionally wise, mentally and emotional wise,
Mhm.
you going between the two households when your
Mhm.
life was not in, when you had an imbalance in other areas, how
Mhm.
difficult was it for you to navigate the two different households, and was there ever a time where you just said, I don't want to do this anymore? Like, was there
Yeah.
ever a thought in your mind where you just wished it would stop?
Yeah. Um, I mean, there's been like a few instances, but I mean, I think when my life was in balance and then it was like imbalanced, I didn't feel like there was a balance in a particular household. I don't think I would talk as much. I think I would just like I would probably be in my room more. Like I would just be by myself more. You probably really wouldn't find me in the living room or kitchen
Mm-hmm.
really thing. I would probably even take my food in my room. Um,
Mm-hmm.
because I didn't know what would come out of like an interaction.
Right.
Um, and then that would just make things worse. Um, So yeah, I would probably be in my room. That's why I always try to make my room my calm space in some way, because that would probably be my escape route. Um
I think
what was the
that's a
other part of the
tip that our kids can use though right now. Anyone who is living with the co-parenting situation, if you have a room someplace, a place where you know it's your sanctuary, then make it, your safe space if you feel like you don't have one at the time, right?
yeah. What was the other part of the question?
Is there any time where you just said you don't want to go back and forth between both houses?
Oh yeah, yeah, for sure. For sure. Yeah.
Did you ever communicate? Why didn't you ever communicate that? Or did you ever
Because,
communicate that?
oh no, I never communicated that. Yeah. No, I never communicated
Why
that.
not?
I didn't know what good it would do. Like, it's my parents, like I gotta see them. So I was like, I just didn't know what good it would do. Um, and I think in the time that sticks out to me the most, one, I was I was younger,
Hmm.
um, like still in elementary school. So I think it was yeah. I don't remember what age I was, but I was most definitely still in elementary school. I was at CCS. Um, I didn't know what would come out of communicating it, for one, because at least with that particular time frame, it would have been me asking to be at your house more.
Hmm.
And I did not know how that was gonna go over.
Right.
Um, and then also to talk about it, I would have had to talk about what was going on in that household, and that would have been about my dad and my stepmother's marriage. And I
Hmm.
didn't, when I was too young, well, I felt too young.
Hmm.
And then two, to talk to him about one, wanting to be at your place more because of the dynamic of like what was going on with their marriage at the time. Then I'm talking to you about your marriage. Then it would be like talking to my mom about his ex-husband and his current wife's
Right.
marriage, and the state of their marriage is like, what? Like, it was just so many factors. I was like, yeah, no, like, no. But then, I mean, luckily I had my stepsister, so like, we thugged it out together. Part of the problem of why I didn't want to be is because a couple instances it got to where we weren't together because Stacey left, like
Mhm.
Stacey moved out a couple times. Um, but overall I had her, so we thugged it out, thugged it together. But yeah, so it was just a lot of compounding factors of why
Okay.
I didn't feel like it was something to talk about. Now there's been other instances that was mainly just with like stuff going on with me probably, but that's probably the one time frame of life that probably sticks out to me the
So
most.
you even as a child, because I tell co-parents, I tell parents this, that our children notice everything. They notice
Mm,
everything, they hear everything, they see everything, and they're processing all of this. You're saying that even in elementary school, you thought through all of these different scenarios and questioned yourself about even saying anything because of all of these different things going on. So, parents, I hope you guys are listening to this because people think I'm crazy when I've been in schools. I listen to kids talk about their parents and their relationships all the time. And now my own daughter is saying in elementary school, she thought through all of these different scenarios that were happening from different perspectives. She thought about what I would feel like if she came to me with this. She thought about what her father would feel like if she came to him. She's thinking about talking to adults as a child and how her feelings and her emotions are probably not either going to be listened to or going to be felt as valid or might cause problems for multiple people in the situation if she said something. Y'all believe me now? I'm just asking for a friend. Okay. And we have to think about and we have to be cognizant of the fact that our children are smarter than we think. They're smarter than we think. These kids made different. They built different. And they're dealing with situations that we didn't necessarily have to deal with as kids. So we have to understand, and when we come to these conversations with them, ask them how they feel about things and be able to receive it. All right. So thank you for that, because I mean, my daughter is telling me stuff that I didn't even know. Y'all, it's not like I'm sitting on here and all this stuff is no, some of this is new. So
Like
I'm
some,
surprised too. And her dad probably gonna
oh
be surprised.
yeah, he is. Um, I think the one other thing is there was a brief, but there was a point in life where I was technically in three co-parenting situations because I had you and my dad,
Hmm.
Stacy and my dad, and then I had you and John.
Right.
You were remarried at the time. So technically two-step parents at the time. You and dad's communication, then when I met dad's, him and Stacy's communication, when I met yours, you and John's communication. I'm just
Right.
like seeing a lot of different, there's a lot of different things going on. Um, but then even with that, like Stacy had, Shania, so she already had a child, a daughter,
Hmm.
and then I'm witnessing her co-parenting situation with her ex. So,
Hmm.
because I actually know him, super love Shania's dad, great guy. Um, but yeah, so I mean, she had a child. She's obviously co-parenting, so she had a little bit more of a foot in the door. John didn't. So he's
Hmm.
navigating me,
Hmm.
you, my father.
Yes.
So a lot of things in the pot. So I think that's the other thing is that like you also I don't think people like always think about it because I think they're thinking about the two people co-parenting that made the child. Um, but whoever you bring in, that's a new co-parenting dynamic also for that child. It's not just about their two actual, parents.
Right.
So
Right.
yeah.
And that's a lot more that the child has to deal with as far as dynamics, emotions, behaviors, discipline, all that type of stuff. And having multiple people in and out of a child's life is like the possible worst thing you can do. Okay. So what Ashlyn is talking about is I was remarried and her stepfather with me had no children at the time. So he was navigating, having a stepdaughter and then having this co-parenting relationship that I have with my ex-husband and then, bringing in a whole new family. So you have to think about the other adult in the situation too and what it is they're dealing with. It eventually became a lot for my ex-husband to my um, second husband to deal with, and that caused another whole, you know, um, disillusion of a relationship. So we really have to think about parents when we introduce other people into our child's life as well. And I'm gonna take the step and ask my daughter's father to come on to the show and his wife one day. So I think that's gonna be really interesting for you guys to see. But Ash, if you would like to give anybody, either co-parents or children of co-parents, any last words, then we'll close out this episode.
I think we touched on them as we were talking. I think, yeah, being very intentional about who you bring around. I think just because you're, I think it was good that You don't just bring anybody that you're dating just around just because that's somebody new for your child to get to know and possibly also get like attached to and get to know. Um, and mm, creating spaces for your child to feel like they can speak up about, something, even if it is an issue with you as the parent. Um, mm, Keeping kind of your co-parenting relationship between the adults. I think we talked about that the first half, but trying to
Mm-hmm.
keep those conflict and resolutions between the adults and keeping your opinions about each other, whether positive or negative, between each other or to yourself, because it can just skew and affect how a child might feel about a parent and not making a child feel like they have to pick sides or something. Um, I think for children in co-parenting situations, it might take time, but I think I touched on it, like learning to give our parents grace and then also just knowing like where they are at and like I said, their love language is how they navigate, even though it might not be how you navigate. That's how they operate. So how you are, and I think that it really goes for any relationships, period. But how you operate, you can't put that onto somebody else to expect them to operate that way. But if it's something that really bothers you or you don't feel like you can just redirect and navigate yourself, then that's something that you end up having to speak up about. I took the route where I never really brought up anything that might be a pro or a con, but I just over time learned how I wanted to navigate with situations and communicate. Um, I don't know. I think that's all I got.
Okay.
I'm probably forgetting something, but
That's okay. You can come
and
back
like
on
we
later.
said, yeah, and like we said, I think kids notice a lot more than you might think that they notice. And um there's a reason why a lot of therapy starts with how you yeah, how you things were as a child, and it's because it stays with you even though you might not think it does. I know that there's stuff that's happened that like it's still in me. Like I can feel it. I can go back to it. Like there's some situations like I can still very vividly see it, feel it of things that happen. So, just just be mindful, just be aware, and just be okay with having potentially uncomfortable conversations with your co-parent and with your child. In the long run, it'll make things way better.
Thank you for those wise words. My 23-year-old, guys. This is my 23-year-old. But I want to thank you again, sweetie, for being on. And co-parents, subscribers, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Leave us a comment, put a like on it. And I'm going to say once again, go out there and co-parent with a purpose. I'll see you in your next episode. Bye.
Bye.